two, three.
Let's go. I love to see the temple. I'm going there someday to feel the Holy Spirit, to listen and to pray. For the temple is a house.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall. It is a Temple Ticker episode. You can always tell it's a Temple Ticker episode because of, well, a couple things. One, that my co-host, let's be honest, the actual host is the Pharaoh himself, Corey K. Ward. That's one way you know. But if you're like the individual who wrote in a couple weeks ago who said don't care for it, don't like the Temple Ticker episodes, you'll also notice that I'll say in the title, Temple Ticker. So that will let you know. And then if you're not able to figure that part out, there is that music that denotes that it is a Temple Ticker episode. The bluesy version of I Love to See the Temple. All to say, we're talking temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Never again will we chat about a 200th temple. It'll be 300th and 400th as we look towards the future. A pivotal episode, among other things that we'll talk about. Corey, how are you, sir?
Doing great.
It's good to see you. Good to have all the information that you have feverishly gathered from the internet. I just have to ask you, as a man whom it won't impact very much as we talk about garment changes, excited, not excited?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
There's one underlooked aspect about this, which I haven't heard anyone in any podcast or news article talk about.
Okay.
That about a year ago, the church schools changed their dress and grooming standards rather than just like give out clear guidelines. It says something like clothes that covers the temple garment is a good suggestion, whether you're in doubt or not. And
Interesting.
so it will be interesting to see if the BYU schools then allow, open sleeve tank tops, or if they're still kind of strict about that, because they would cover the garment still. So we'll to see if those BYU students try something and see if anyone tries to pull them on it.
Those BYU students try and do something. Well, the thing that I brought up sort of jokingly, that I haven't heard anyone address, is there are certain traditional clothing, not to mention just comfort level, that the slip for the gentleman may not be a bad idea either. And I just,
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there isn't anything in the general handbook that says that men have to wear women's garments, or that men can't wear women's garments, or women can't wear men's garments. You can buy whatever garments you want and wear them.
yeah, it'll be
So,
interesting if anyone gatekeeps that. And women apparently wear it all the time, wear men's garments all the time, especially with like maternity stuff, because they fit better or feel better or something like that. So
yeah, it was just kind of interesting how the church rolled this out, how it kind of just like showed up on the store one day without any like explanation. And it was the Salt Lake Tribune that had to write a big thing about it. And then it wasn't until a day later that the church news put out a very vague article without any details about the changes. And
it surprises
people just had to learn about this from other channels.
It surprises me that we're in a day and an age that the church still feels like they can control the message. If the second that something pops out, they don't have something ready to go, or like that they're not a little bit more proactive. Like, hey, we're changing this. We should probably take the lead on telling people about it, because it is. I can think of several times where the church has said, "Hey, that's our story to tell," and we're like weeks after the fact being like, oh no, we already researched all that. Everyone already shared that. So I don't know. That's not what we came to talk about. We came to talk about temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 198. 198.
Hey, yeah, you're talking about the temple dedication that happened on October 13th. That was in San Pedro Sula, Honduras. Elder Dale Renlund was there to preside over that dedication. We spoke about previous dedications that he's done, and he always talks about flowing waters, whether it's a river or whatever. And he talked about kind of like when it obviously in Central America it rains a lot. So he talked about the flowing waters that can sometimes come from floods, and can, if you're not careful, can wash you away, I guess is what he was saying.
What do you think his
So
deal with water is? Because
it's a good point.
he was the surgeon or was he the lawyer?
He was the surgeon.
Yeah.
I think he was born in Utah, but he grew up a time in Sweden. And
Hmm.
Sweden like has those like big fjords and everything. So I don't know if it has something to do with his youth.
He was a huge
But
fan of the
yeah.
fjords growing up, and now he just wants to share it. It would be curious since it shows up every time he speaks at a temple dedication, like what his connection with water is.
Yeah, he talked about in the Congo how the people that were joining the church threw their idols into the river. He was in Brazil. He talked about the Amazon River, how it flows. Two big rivers flow into each other at the mouth in Belém, Brazil. And here he talked about how Honduras means hondo in Spanish, which means deep or depths of the water. So, yeah.
If there is
Uh,
a Renlund that is listening to this, someone who knows, hey, Grandpa Renlund really loves water, or whatever the thing is, contact at theculturalhall.com. I gotta know. Is that
okay.
let me ask you that. Is that something I could write to church headquarters and be like, listen, I know you got a lot of things, I know you're answering a lot of like doctrine things. Elder Renlund, how come you always talk about water at the temple dedication?
I'll have to ask him directly if he can find a secretary. I don't know.
Track him down. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Stalk him. Got it.
S-
I'll take
Yeah.
your
So
advice.
this temple, it's going to have 15 stakes in one district covering it. So a rather large district. Honduras has traditionally had a lot of members and stakes before they get a temple. So the first stake was in Honduras, was created in this city in 1977, nearly 50 years ago.
Jeez.
And missionary work started in 1954. So yeah, this temple's a long time coming.
Now, is this are all temples now for the most part are they all President Nelson temples? Are we in that era?
There's a few that are still Monson announced. I think the one off the top of my head, Abidjan, Ivory Coast, Nairobi, Kenya. Those are the only ones I can think of. Or the second one in the Manila, Philippines,
Mhm.
Alabang. So I think those three are probably left from President Monson.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
So then
this was
we
one of the first announced by President Nelson.
so now we get a chant 199 199.
Here we go. 199. Is that like a countdown?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Something on the wall?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
and I just hope you say the name of this temple correctly because otherwise I'm going to say it differently.
Yeah. On October 20th at Salvador, Brazil.
Salvador.
Brazil. Temple was dedicated by Elder Neil Andersen. Um, he, of course, talked about that name. Here's a quote from that dedication. He said, "A temple in a city named after the Savior is less important than having a temple dedicated in a place where there are so many people that have the name Savior, Salvador, written in their hearts." So there you go.
Hmm.
Not important that the temple's in the city, but it's important that you have Salvador written in your heart.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it. Now it was Elder Andersen that we thought might have like a special calling, something that nothing came out at General Conference, right?
I was Elder Stevenson.
Stevenson.
Yeah, that
Okay, so
was
let's
my.
follow that up though. Let's pull that thread just for a quick second. Anything with Stevenson that we know yet? Anything that's come through that we're like, oh, there it is?
Not really. I really don't know why he missed that devotional and that temple dedication. I did also hear that Elder Uchtdorf last minute before conference canceled a event at BYU Idaho. So people
Mm,
were speculating about him as well.
mm.
So I mean, maybe I don't know. It did seem like Elder Stevenson had some sort of like, it seemed like he was kind of close to President Nelson or something. I can't remember what happened. So yeah, I guess that was just
Yep. All
speculation that
speculation. We'll be
didn't
able to
bear
look
out.
back. We'll be able to
I'm
look back
sure
and go, this is what it was, but we don't know yet.
read his diaries in 100 years when he's dead and see what happened. I
And
don't
they
know.
unseal them and they finally allow us to read them. Sure, 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 sure. All of those things. And
Yes.
not news to anyone who listens to the Cultural Hall. It was funny. I had recorded a Articles of News episode with my friend Kurt Franklin from over at This Week in Mormons and Leading Saints, and he said, "Oh, this just broke right after we got done recording that President Nelson is going to dedicate the 200th temple." And I was like, "We talked about it 5 months ago, at least 5 months ago." We talked
Yeah.
about the fact that first of all, it would be the Deseret Peak Temple would be number 200, and that President Nelson would dedicate it. I don't know why people don't trust me. Why don't people believe me? Why don't people anyway?
Yeah, the exact same thing happened with the Manti Temple. They didn't announce who was going to be dedicating it. They waited till the last minute to say it was President Nelson's surprise. So same with this Desert Peak. They didn't announce who it was, so we're all like, well, it's probably gonna be President Nelson. And surprise, they did announce that it was.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, they made like a kind of an addendum to the announcement to say that going forward, we've talked about this before with the Tallahassee Temple. They changed that as well. That going forward, there'll only be one dedicatory session. Normally it's gonna be at 10 a.m., but in this case, it's gonna be the Desert Peak Temple will be dedicated at 4 p.m. So people will go to sacrament meeting as normal. If you're like for some reason have a late like 1:30 church, they may adjust your schedule. But other than that, you can go to probably assume a stake center or meeting house and watch the temple dedication at 4 p.m. But if you can't make it, or you have kids and need to like one person go to the 4 p.m., then there'll also be a 7 p.m. rebroadcast to those meeting houses where you can watch the recording of the dedicatory session at 7 p.m.
But heretofore, one dedicatory session, one dedicatory prayer, one dedicatory musical performance where we shuffle people in and out, one dedicatory, all the things. So now that ticket just became that much of a hotter ticket to be in the dedicatory session.
Yeah, they did note that seating is extremely limited in those sessions.
So one time you got to do it. You don't get the it makes sense to me that it's one session and then rebroadcast. The fact that we were doing multiple sessions, I mean, it's like it's dedicated. Are we dedicating it now? Is this the dedication? Does this one?
Yes.
Is this the one that sticks? Does this count? No, it's the next one. Okay, well then I'll say whatever I want in this one.
Yeah, the Salt Lake Temple had like weeks of dedications when it was originally dedicated. People from like I remember in the Saints book, volume 2, it talked about how kind of just people got turns. So one dedicatory session was for the Hawaiian members in Iosepa. They had their own dedicatory session that they could go to
Geez,
at the
that's
Salt Lake
cool.
Temple. It said that they even celebrated this dedicatory session by getting rebaptized before.
Sure.
So this is a thing when rebaptism was not uncommon for either health purposes, for just renewing your covenants, for even joining the United Order, an economic thing, you got rebaptized. So this congregation of saints decided before the temple dedication, we're going to get rebaptized.
Yes, you heard that right. Baptized again. I just think it's an interesting part of our history that you would never see happen today unless you were.
Well, I mean, if you count going to the temple to do baptisms for the dead, I would argue that it's still kind of a thing. You can still be rebaptized.
Interesting.
And even though you're doing it for other people, I've heard general authorities or whatever say like, but it's also a reminder of your original covenant of
Well,
baptism.
well, then in that case, every time I take the sacrament is like being baptized again. If we take it that far,
There
but
you
it's
go.
not. But it's not physically going into the water. And for you, Corey K. Ward, getting baptized again. Yeah, it's close. Okay, I'll take it. Listen, I'm not trying to exclude anything. I'm a fan of big. I'm a fan of Big Tent ordinances. Let's do it. All of it. Everything can be another ordinance. Let's go. Will there be, do you suppose, I know that locally here in the state of Utah, there will be a huge deal with President Nelson dedicating the Deseret Peak Temple. It'll be all over the news. 200 and where are we going and where have we been and the culmination of all the things. Do you think that it will make national news, centenarian prophet dedicating this thing, or do you think it will all kind of just reside within the state of Utah?
That's a good point. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. What will make more big news is when he passes away. That will be international news.
Sure.
So
Let's take a quick second here. We'll come back in the second half and do all of the temple dedications that have been announced, temple groundbreakings, updates, legal battles, all the things. We've got a bunch more. We'll come back and do that in the second half of the Temple Ticker. BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same t-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Uh-huh. Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah, it's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJinUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJinUtah.com.
Imagine running a small business today. It's challenging. Imaging and internet presence is an absolute must. Even with that, you're still a small star in a bright cyber universe. Now, imagine you have someone who understands how to get your site designed for your talents and then easily searched by potential clients. Imagine Lennon Design. Whether it's strictly a website or a whole package of logo creation, advertising media, and promotional materials, Lennon Design is your partner in business. They'll test the boundaries of their imagination to create something unique for you. When you need creative, affordable design, let it be Lennon Design. Call 801-699-3022 or visit LennonDesign.com.
Here in the second half of the Temple Ticker, we got to get to it. We've got lots of things, lots of announcements of lots of various occurrences. So let's get right to it. The dedication of the Auckland, New Zealand temple.
Yeah, we finally got our first announcement of a temple event in 2025. They've been really slow at rolling out the calendar for 2025 so far. But it was announced yesterday that the Auckland, New Zealand temple will be dedicated on April 13th. Other Project Kieran will be there. It'll be at 10 a.m., just one session. They'll have a media day on February 24th and an open house from the 27th to March 22nd. So this temple is already very visible in New Zealand. It's on the right next to the MTC, which has been there for a couple decades. And it's right kind of near a highway interchange, main highway in New Zealand coming from the airport to Auckland. So it's already very visible. Most people in Auckland have probably already seen it. It is interesting that you talked about a podcast that happened in New Zealand. They're using the image of the temple, which isn't even dedicated yet. That's kind of the background image of their podcast. So I found that kind of interesting for image things.
Well, and interestingly enough, you bring up the like visibility of it. So are we talking like it's like Washington, D.C., San Diego temple visibility? Like, are we equating it to that, do you think?
I would say so, yeah. It's right there on a hill right next to the highway. You can't miss it.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Tall. This is the same size that the temple in Fairview that we'll talk about later is. So everyone's thinks that's so large. So I'm surprised this didn't get more pushback in New Zealand when it did. But yeah.
It is also worth noting that all of the things that we're talking about put together in loving and cared for show notes. So make sure that you click through both when you find us on YouTube or when you find us just wherever you're listening to this, that all of these show notes have links and things that you can be able to follow down if you want to see. Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah, this is interesting because normally when a temple is closed for renovation, they kind of make a big deal about it, like, oh, it's going to be closed for renovation. When it's done, we'll have an open house and a rededication. And what happened was that this temple was just announced as an extended closure, which happens all the time.
Sure.
Sometimes temples close for months at a time to have small renovations. Originally, it was announced that it would be closed for 9 months. And then there was an update that said, hey, it's taking a little bit longer than we thought. So it's going to be about 18 months, so even more. But they still didn't even say if they were going to have an open house. But they did announce that there'll be an open house and a rededication, which will be on March 23rd, presided by Elder Jeffrey Holland. And they'll have a open house from February 13th to March 8th as well. So there's not really any pictures of the inside of this temple that I've ever seen that are floating around on the internet or any old Ensign magazines. So I'm curious to see what it looks like on the inside, and I'm sure the people of the community will be interested to also see the temple. It was
Well, and
dedicated originally in 1987.
so be able to come out and check it out. Do you think that it's a length of time, or do you think that it is the what is worked on that makes it be rededicated? Meaning, like if we're just, we're fixing like the lobby area, then we don't rededicate it. But if we go into the sacred places, that's when we rededicate it? Or do you think it's like, listen, we can get this done in 4 months. Sure. No rededication. 18 months. Guys, we better, this has been sullied. We've got some people in here, eh? Let's get some people
Yeah.
and rededicate this, eh?
I mean, yeah, it's possible that it was more extensive than they thought, so they just extended it, and they said, well, we're not scheduling another renovation in the next 10 years anyways, so might as well just have a big open house now to have the community have a chance to see it. And I remember when the Houston Temple flooded, they had a couple of months renovation, and they decided to have a rededication, even though it was very small and didn't have an open house or anything.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know what the decision process was for that.
Interesting fact also about the Toronto temple is that when they first purchased the land back in the 80s, it cost the church a basket of strawberries, not only to buy the land, but also to build the building. And now, with the way, if you followed at all, what real estate is like up in Canada, it's $17 billion is how much that temple costs. So it's pretty fascinating the way the economy works just in 40 short years. It's amazing. Go in and see the inside of that. I can tell that you're itching to see the inside of it, so I can't wait for you to be able to see the interior. And I hope that you'll share the photos with everyone when we get to do it. The temple open houses. Tallahassee?
Yeah, the Tallahassee, Florida Temple opened for tours. Um, just, a month ago, there was a Category 4 hurricane that passed through this part of Florida. But the church said, nope, we're good. The temple's not any damage. We're going to continue on as normal. So that was Hurricane Helene, which affected more North Carolina, interestingly, than it did Florida. So Kathy and Neil Andersen were at the media day of the temple, October 28th. It was interesting that Kathy is a native of Florida, and her church ancestors date back to 1898, where
Wow.
her great-grandfather, Daniel Henry Arlene, lived in Florida at the time. He was 57. He ran into missionaries who he was interested because the local minister had said that, hey, don't talk to those guys. But he, I guess, had that curiosity, and he learned about Joseph Smith and Mormon and joined the church later, and eventually went to Utah so that he could be sealed to his family.
Hmm. Hmm. And then as far as the look on the inside, you mentioned various colors, and plus you have links to be able to see inside, which I always think is cool.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites that's been opened in the last year, I would say. Really cool, kind of a sun rising motif on the windows and the doors of the temple. That's kind of a classic Art Deco theme. So you have that, but you also have kind of the historic patterns that you'll find in old Southern styles that date back to the 1800s, such as the leaf lattice, the pond fronds, the magnolia follows, and interlocking key patterns. You'll also see live oak, two varieties of magnolias, and crepe myrtles in the designs. So a lot of gold, a lot of blue, and a little bit of green. So yeah, that's the theme of this temple.
Well, and the reason why is because they wanted two gentlemen or a gentleman and a lady to be able to sit around and be talking about the temple and stuff. Well, I say myself, there is an oak tree. Well, I do say so myself. I don't know. For some reason, when you said that, that's Southern traditional. That's what. Well, I do say. Yes, I do say there is a sunrise motif in this building. I do say so. Just as you predicted again, I don't want to beat the chest and the drum of people need to pay attention to what we talk about here. But you called it the unannounced, the let's have a flash mob at the temple site and do the groundbreaking in Cody, Wyoming, just like you talked about. Let's not make a big deal, but we'll do it. We'll do it quick. Here comes people. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess it's an unwritten procedure of the church. Whenever there's a temple that has a lot of controversy, we're just going to have like a stealth groundbreaking. So that's what people did. They had an unannounced groundbreaking in Cody, Wyoming. Elder Stephen Bangerter, who's the general authority at that area, um, presided over that. Probably just a handful of people in the audience. There's the pictures they have don't really show everyone that was there. I assume it was only a couple of rows of people, probably a couple stake presidents and bishops, I assume. But yeah, I guess they're starting construction on the Cody White Temple, despite possibly some pending litigation, but I would think that they're mostly in the clear now. So they already have all the modules on site. So once they make that foundation, they'll put those on, and this temple could go pretty fast, the construction.
In my heart of hearts, I really do think that it's that I wanted it to be like four people on lookout and they're like, go, go, and they have the land that they're not actually groundbreaking. And that like we're doing the whole thing, and then someone's coming, and they like hide the shovels like we did when the army came to Salt Lake, and then the people come and are like, what's going on here? And we're like, oh, I don't know. Nothing's going on here. We need a good old bury our shovel, bury our foundation story.
And then we can make a movie about it.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Grandpa, Grandpa. They put them around it. No, okay. We've
No,
got
we're
too
nice,
far.
sorry.
The greatest thing to ever be in Bakersfield, California.
Yes, and despite that, the group of residents near the temple is trying to oppose it. The church put out some renderings of what the temple will look like, um, to kind of visualize with the height as well. They also, in another location, they put out an image of kind of what it looked like, what the temple will look like on a starry night, which I kind of find a little bit funny because this image, I don't know, maybe you can see the stars from Bakersfield, but it kind of like, oh, this is what the temple looks like at night, and you can still see, the Milky Way and everything, which I'm not so sure if you can see that really in the city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess there's a 55 plus community right behind the temple. And from my experience, people in a 55 plus community, they just want to have their peace and quiet and nothing else.
Yep.
And they show up to meetings, they have time to show up to a big meeting and oppose whatever is in their vicinity. So yeah, the
But
church
that
is trying proactively to reach out to them. We'll see, I guess, if they get the approvals or if this will become a big thing.
the thing that I've been fascinated about though, like Heber City was the lighting was the big issue, and in Texas it's the height of the temple. That's not what the issue is in Bakersfield. The issue in
But
Bakersfield is they're like, we don't have nice things here, so we're gonna need to not have a nice thing here. If you look in this entire city, we don't have a single nice thing here. We're gonna need to take this nice, beautiful thing somewhere else. We don't deserve this. It can't go here. It doesn't fit in here. If we can please take this really nice thing somewhere else. That's an interesting protest that these people are making.
nice,
Is
nice,
that's not it? I got incorrect
little
information apparently.
subtle slam on Bakersfield. But yeah.
McKinney, but not in McKinney, Texas Temple.
Yes, so proactively, the town of Fairview is raising up money for a legal fund. Um, and I guess they're anticipating that the church will put a lawsuit against the town
Which they
for
will.
probably on RLUIPA reasons. It seems like the church keeps citing that law that they can, bill as high as they want if they're a religious organization. So, we'll see. I guess the town, trying to be proactive about it. The church hasn't said officially what they will do. So, yeah.
Jokes aside on that, I do wonder, I mean, certainly we can. Do you think that we're changing future temple, like, the architecture, the plans for things because there's been so much like rejection of these things, or do you think we're just like, nope, let's keep going. We're gonna do it.
No,
See,
if anything, it's just a case by case basis. The only thing that's changed is the Yorba Linda Temple, which the temple didn't get a bunch of press coverage, but the church did end up just redesigning the temple to a lower height. So I think if church knows it can get away with a higher height, then it will do it. But if they're absolutely deadlocked, then they might change.
As a quick aside, just because we did not mention this, do you think that with the 200th temple dedication, that President Nelson will talk about how there's no more Moronis on the temple?
I doubt it.
Yeah, but it could.
I mean,
If it's ever
it
going to be
can.
addressed, I think that maybe President Nelson will say, hey, we had an era of this, and we used to do this, and now we look forward towards this, and we're doing this. I could see that. I could see that because there will be no more Moronis.
It's true. But I
Public
don't know
center.
with that garment announcement not being explained at all, I just kind of doubt it.
You're like explanation? Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. So we don't know what the church is going to do with McKinney, not McKinney, but Fairview Temple. How about Lethbridge, Alberta?
Yeah, it's kind of unusual. I guess maybe this is just a thing from the Canada newsroom, but for some reason they felt it necessary to put a press release that says that they are doing preliminary site work on the Lethbridge, Alberta Temple site. This is that one that's at the Whoop Up Drive,
Mm-hmm.
kind of near that hockey arena.
Whoop up.
Um, I mean, the church does this all the time where they do work on the temple before a groundbreaking. So for some reason, Canada, I guess they decided to get it out there for the media to make sure that they're aware. Normally they have to do kind of a clearance and preparation and everything, and then that's the point they do a groundbreaking.
Hmm.
So probably they didn't say when the groundbreaking will be, but probably within a few months. Probably
Soon.
after that Canadian winter that's upon us right now.
Yeah. They're excited because the temple grounds for that temple purchased by a handshake back when it was first purchased, and that was not very long ago. And now it's $700 billion. If you follow Canada real estate right now, just incredible the way that things have grown there. You think Utah's grown? Woo! How about we go to Cali, Colombia?
Yeah, this temple was announced in 2021, and only a couple of months later they announced a site and they released a rendering. But since then, we haven't heard anything about this temple when it was going to be built. So now it's been 3 years since that site announcement. It was on the site of it's at the site of a French high school. So we're seeing that that school like is closed. So maybe there was some contract where they had to keep the school open for a little bit. And yeah, they recently put out demolition notices in front of the school, and they said it will go from January to August. So maybe by August we'll see that there's a groundbreaking that will happen. That's for this symbol.
Farmington, New Mexico.
Yeah, normally when a temple president is called to a new temple, it also signifies that a dedication is coming up soon. So the Farmington, New Mexico temple matron and temple president was announced. Lord Lillywright and Jalen Lillywright. They're from Bloomfield, New Mexico. So yeah, they will be the presidents of this temple.
This looks like a modular temple. Is this a modular one too?
It's not. It's one of those larger 30,000 square foot ones. So
Hmm. It's definitely like square though, that it does feel like it's modular, but no, interesting. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Um,
construction's wrapping up. I wouldn't be surprised to see, a dedication announced within the next few months.
and then finally this, and you're gonna have to help me. Uh, some news from the Salt Lake Temple about one of the stonemasons. Is this the stonemason that we see depicted in the movie where he can promise he promises these two hands and a promise to make you laugh every day. Is that James Staple that's in that movie? What movie is that? Is that All of Us Working in Wonder, or is that
Is it like only a stone maker
I can't
or
remember.
only a stone?
It's a love story
Oh,
wrapped
okay.
into
This is it's John D. Moyle.
oh, okay.
John R. Moyle.
Okay.
There was a movie made about him by T.C. Christensen, only a stonecutter in 2008.
Okay.
So this is a separate person. His name
Okay.
is James A. Staple. I remember this Moyle guy like commuted from Draper every week. This
Mhm.
guy was like the head mason at the site of the temple. He didn't go to like the mine or anything, kind of supervised the putting together of the stone at the temple site. So the reason why this is news is that I guess his ancestors, his descendants, all gathered together on Temple Square, um, and just celebrated his accomplishment, and also looked forward to the completion of the renovation.
Now, was
So
this
you
the
can read
thing
all
where
about it.
was it a thing where because I got the impression based on like the headline or something like that that like what he did is no longer necessary or we're not using it or we're shifting away from it and so it's like hey, this got us for so long and a big tribute to him, but now we're doing this other thing. Is that why this happened?
Yeah, I don't know why it happened, if it was an initiative from
You
who knows what. But yeah, definitely I mean, the editor, basically what he did is being strengthened, I'd say, with a different method.
know. Well, I want to go to the temple and have a family party, bring some potato salad and celebrate an ancestor. How do I get in on that invitation? Would you come party with me at the temple? You could be my family. If I can
Yeah,
get
let's
us
do
in
it.
early, I'll find a way. I'll find a way. I my great something was the groundskeeper. We need to be here for the grounds before they get I don't know, something needs to be changed so that we can have a party. Okay. Well, any other things that you're looking out on the temple horizon for, things coming up that you're like, oh, this is coming, everyone, get ready.
Yeah, there's a few things in November and December. But I think the church is going to start to fill out that 2025 calendar. There's probably 10 or 15 temples that could be dedicated or rededicated in 2025. So you could see that and more groundbreakings as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
More dedications as we bust our way towards 500. Come on, let's go. 500 by 2030. Let's get them in. Let's get them done. If you want to find, like I said, all the show notes, you can find them with the episode here. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter and on Facebook. I know it's X, but I don't care. It's at the Cultural Hall. Find and follow us there. You can always find the latest and greatest. Corey K. Ward, if you want to tell people about the little side piece you got going on, you can tell people about that.
Yeah, I have a Facebook page. It has about 23,000 followers. It's called Latter-day Saint Chapel. It's Latter-day Saint Chapels around the world daily. Post pictures from just a random stake around the world every day. Just interested in like what the church looks like in different countries. So if that interests you too, then give a follow to that page.
Now, let me ask you just real quick. Do you have a favorite church house?
When people ask me if I have favorite things, I say I don't have favorite things
Yeah,
because it's hard for me to choose.
sure. Do you have
Um,
elements of a favorite thing?
I'd have to think about it.
Okay. Okay. Well, save
I
it then,
mean,
because I'll ask you,
yeah,
I guess, maybe about it next time. Because I passed by a chapel the other day with the most amazing stained glass. I think that I mentioned it to you the last time we chatted. I took a moment and looked at it just a little bit more. It is a south facing. It is the backdrop of the chapel stained glass for this particular LDS ward. And to me, that seems awesome. I've never gone. I'm thinking about finding out what time their worship services are at just so I can go and be able to see, does this make a big difference to me? Do I like this? As I looked around this last Sunday in my ward, not even a window in my chapel, not even any connection to outdoors.
yeah.
Uh,
I guess shout out to I guess my the favorite temple or favorite meeting house grounds.
uh-huh.
I was here this weekend at the Garden Park Ward.
Oh, of course.
I took a walk to that chapel, and they have, every time I go, there's people taking down pictures there
Yeah.
because people just love what the grounds look like so much. They're open to the
It's
public.
unreal. I've thought about doing a special episode about just the Garden Park Ward because it has so much
Yeah.
history just in and of itself, that building and that area itself. then maybe we should do something like that. There's something to me about the old chapels that have the second level seating. That's something, if I had a favorite, you have the loft to be able to have
Mhm.
the upper deck seating. So maybe I'm answering your question for you. What are my favorite things? I don't know. Find it. You can contact us, contact@theculturalhall.com. Any emails sent to me, I'll pass them along to Corey if they pertain to him. Until we chat next time, we'll probably do one more time before the end of the year, get an update on all things temples as a temple ticker episode. Probably maybe one more time before we wrap up 2024. Maybe we'll make it an end of the year wrap up. We don't know. We'll do what we want. Corey says, "Thus let it be written, thus let it be said." And I go, "Okay, Corey, listen, I'm on board. Let's go." We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body,
I hope that if you're able to listen this time, that you would listen next time.
and that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety.
In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Rick McGee, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger with a U will be saving a seat for you
On the back row,
Of the
the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat. On the back row, we really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.